Hi, it's Elaine from Penguin Place Crafts, and it's Saturday afternoon. I spent the whole day working on one project, trying to finish up the fruit bunny that I started yesterday. You know how you got that little warning on your mirror that says items in mirror are closer than they appear? I think that this pattern for the fruit bunnies should have a little note that says items made from this pattern will turn out larger than we tell you they will. The pattern says that the item only takes 7 ounces, 1 cake, of the Premier Chunky Fruit yarn. Well, but they say to have 2 skeins so that you can break it down into colors and not run out. That's all I got left. That's only, what was it, 3.6 ounces. So 14 ounces, 3.6 left. It took over 10 ounces to make this critter. "14 inches tall." I don't think so. Now, I put the legs so that it would be a sitting bunny. I think it would be like about 24 inches tall with the legs hanging down. I will measure it. I should have measured it before and put the total length up in the corner. It was just a rather frustrating pattern. It's not, okay, it says, save time, please check your gauge. I didn't. I probably would have had to go down to like a G hook in order to make gauge. It says rounds 1 through 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It says rounds 1 through 4 would be 4 inches in diameter. I think I met gauge, but it still turned out this big because there's like 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So from here to here, here to here. You can't see it. Okay. From there to there. This is pretty close to a 1-inch measurement. 1, 2, 3. So I was actually under gauge. And I still ended up with a monster bunny. Yeah. And there were things about the pattern, like it's not written the way that most amigurumi patterns are, where most amigurumi patterns would say, like single crochet 2, increase. Instead of using the term increase, they would say, make 2 stitches in next stitch. You don't need to do that. That's so confusing and it's so many extra words. And when you did the ears, they had you put 2 different stitch markers in and increase when you get to this stitch marker, then move the stitch marker, increase when you get to that, instead of just saying increase at the sides or giving you a stitch count for increasing at the sides. I just found that very confusing. And okay, there was, when you got to this level right here, you can't see it, he's got an innie belly button. When you got to this point right here, you're supposed to increase around, then do 2 increases right next to each other, and then go back, and then get to this place again, do 2 increases, and then continue the round. And then after those 2 rows, then you did 2 decreases, then you did 2 decreases. So it ended up with him having this little knob sticking out of his belly right here. Like, what is this? Bunnies don't have this little knob sticking out, and I just didn't like the way it looked. So I took some yarn and pulled it back and gave him an innie belly button. So I did run out of the hot pink yarn. The last thing I made were the legs, and I think there were 18 rows in the legs. I went up to row 17 on one leg, and then I made the other leg, got that up to row 17, and sort of measured off my yarn, like, okay, I've got 3 yards left. So I did round 18 on that leg, and then I cut the yarn with enough to sew it on, tied the yarn onto the other leg, made one more round. That was cutting it close. And it did require a lot of like tying on little lengths, like for making the ears. I had this one little ball of yarn that was really tiny. I needed to use that. So he's done. And he'll go with me to Street Fest, and maybe someone will fall in love with it. Oh, it also said to use, was it 10 millimeter safety eyes? I think. Yeah. 10 millimeter safety eyes in something this big with such a loose, I mean, I could stick my finger through the stitches. So I probably should have gone down. They said eye hook. I could have gone down to a G to get a really tight, but he's very squishy. 10 millimeter safety eyes would not stay in the material. They just fall out. So I embroidered the eyes instead. I have 2 more cakes of this yarn left. Okay, mister, where are you going to go? We'll put you down here with the rest of the yarn. I have 2 skeins of the banana. So this has yellow, nope, that's the cream. Yellow, a cream, and then there's some cream with brown fleck. Okay, I'm not making another bunny. No way, no how. So I think I am going to divide this up into separate color cakes and use the yellow and the cream to make bananas. And then the white with the brown flecks I will use to make loaf cats. And maybe some of the yellow I would combine with the leftover green from that and make some yellow and green turtles. Or I could do a daisy turtle. Yellow shell, white frill around the outside, the green for the head and the feet. That'd be cute. But I'm not going to even save this pattern. There was one point when you're making the tail. Oh yeah, that too. It tells you to use the pictures on the front to see how to assemble your critter. Now, in the one, the lady is holding all 3 of them. So you can't really see what she's holding, how she's holding. And then they show like a side view of the back. So you can't tell where to put the tail. There's no picture that shows you where to put the tail. But when I was making the tail, see, he does have a tail. And I did figure out where to put it. After you did like rows 1, 2, 3, it said to weave in your yarn tail from the magic ring. Why? You're going to stuff it. The yarn tail will be under the stuffing. And I had already worked over my yarn tail. I didn't have anything to weave in, but I was looking back, and I had already made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pieces. And none of them said anything about weaving in your yarn tail from the magic ring. It's like, you're not being consistent. Okay, I must not have had a good night's sleep. I'm being a little bit grumpy today. So that's my story. This was given to me by someone who couldn't crochet anymore because it hurt her hands to crochet. I'm wondering, she tried to make one of these. I'm wondering if trying to make the first one was so frustrating that that's why she gave it up. We have Mr. or Mrs. Hot Pink Ears, maybe it's a Mrs., the Dragon Fruit Bunny, that will be going to my show with Crocky, and Crocky is just over my head here. You can't see Crocky. The two of them will be attention getters at the show. The great big things that people are like, whoa, look at that. And then they come into your tent. So that's all I finished. I mean, that kept me busy. The body was like 60 stitches per row. That took a while to get the body finished up. Then the head, I think, went up to 48. Head. Yes, the head went up to 48. And that's another thing, like when you start to work on the head, it'll say, repeat rows 1 through 8 of the body. Maybe if you used proper abbreviations, like increase and decrease, then you'd have room to actually put those lines so you're not put back and forth. Actually, I was just like, okay, I've got to go up to 48 stitches. I can do that without turning back to it because it was the standard 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48. Got it. And it says this is an easy pattern. Yeah, not my cup of tea. It's too hot for tea. Ooh, I have some iced coffee in the fridge. I forgot to make my coffee last night and put it in the freezer. Not freezer, fridge. So I had warm coffee this morning, and I got to the point where it's just like, nah, I'm not drinking any more hot coffee today. So I put it in the fridge to have with my lunch. Ended up not having lunch because we're having an early dinner, but I have some iced coffee in the fridge that I could have now. Yeah, it's decaf, don't worry. I'll still sleep tonight. So, now I think I'm going to go break these two down into their individual color cakes and make a few bananas, because that seems like a fun project. And I need a fun project after a frustrating project. Sorry, Mr. Bunny. I'm just telling it like it is. You drove me crazy. I know. I will probably get some comments saying that I was very negative. I just want to warn people, if you're like, oh, this picture on the cover, this looks so cute. It didn't turn out that way for me. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not saving the pattern. I will not make this again. I will use one of the other bunny patterns that I have in, I have a whole notebook full of bunny patterns. And there's bunnies in some of the books that I have here. So I will do those instead. But today, it's going to be bananas. So I will say goodbye, and I will go play with yarn to help me to recover from a frustrating project. Bye bye.